thank you so much for making time to chat with me at the start of your day. I just wanted to kick off with getting you to tell us about what it is you do in the e-commerce space.
Sure thing. James, look, I'm delighted to be here. It's 8:30 where I am. I know it's 5:30 where you are. My name is Richard. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer for eDesk, and we are an Irish head office company who deliver smart customer support solutions to e-commerce businesses. And what we help do is give retailers the chance to unlock growth by connecting them into all the major marketplaces so that they can sell and they can service their customers in a way that's scalable and it's AI driven and helps give them a great way of being able to delight the customer with each transaction.
No, that's awesome. It's actually, to be really honest, you're actually the first tech company that I've spoken to out of this part of the world. So it's also quite interesting. Cool. So, you talked about being AI driven and being help desk that helps e-commerce sellers and the like. But how do you differ from other help desk platforms out there? Because we all know there are quite a few. But what's different about you guys?
Yeah, help desk is nothing new in and of itself, and there's some companies who do it incredibly well. But help desk and the idea of having customer ticketing software, it's a very broad sweep from IT support to I need to figure out what my gas bill is to every other bit, piece, and otherwise. And really where eDesk differentiates is we're built for e-commerce, only for e-commerce. That's what we do. And from the very ground up, we've been hardwired into the Amazon ecosystem. We're Amazon Dev Council certified. We do the same for Walmart. We're Walmart Dev Council members. And so when we started out in our journey, we realized there was a real gap. A lot of the traditional help desks, James, were very much focused on the full extent of the customer journey, all that sort of journey that walks up to when somebody buys and then continuing that cycle out. But marketplaces are kind of unique, and it's oftentimes difficult to kind of maintain that relationship all the way through. So what we helped companies do is really make sure that in the transaction, they were able to deliver real-time customer service, pulling in order data, pulling in shipping data, being able to request feedback, all particularly geared to just looking after that e-commerce customer.
Yeah, interesting. It's I'm kind of glad you mentioned marketplaces as well, because they are probably, some of them are probably one of the most demanding in terms of having to reply to customers, handle customers, give solutions, and so on. Which brings me to my next question. What is your view on multi-channel selling beyond Amazon? Now, I ask beyond Amazon because everyone's hyper focused on Amazon, but knowing that you deal with so many sellers around the world, like, what's your view on it, and what's your feeling of it beyond Amazon? Like, are you seeing a lot of people selling beyond Amazon, or just that they're still hyper focused on that as a channel?
I think the proliferation of other marketplaces means as a seller, you've got to be able to have a tapestry of routes to market. You can't put all your eggs into the one Marks and Spencer's basket or the one, although Amazon are an incredible force with an incredible market dominance. There are so many other avenues for customers to be able to engage with your product. And we're seeing a proliferation of businesses, particularly in the US and in EMEA, that are hyper-localized. They give a very close and personal connection to the local audience. In France, the Fnac or Cdiscount website is quite incredible in terms of the breadth and the depth they've got. In the UK, OnBuy, even over in the US with Walmart and Sears, there are alternative ways to be able to converse with your customer. And I think the assumption that marketplace equals Amazon, they're the 800-pound gorilla, but there are ways to be able to serve your customer where they want to be served. And ultimately, a marketplace is a wonderful way for you as a retailer to be able to open up your product range to customers who want to shop in their preferred high street, if you like. They're not walking down Main Street, Melbourne, or Shop Street, Dublin. They're going to a marketplace that they feel comfortable with, that gives them the recommendations they like, gives them the shipping requirement they've got. And you got to make sure that you're presenting your product there and delighting the customer in that environment as much as you would if they were buying from your own web store.
No, interesting. I think I think that's really good to hear, because obviously there's more and more marketplaces coming up, and ultimately there are revenue opportunities for sellers. But I would ask, so you think that you're almost saying that single channel selling is going to be a thing of the past? Is that kind of where you're going with this?
I don't think you can succeed in the way that being successful in an e-tail world isn't about having a single route to market. It's about being able to cater for the full long tail, geography, segments, particular audiences. It's very difficult to say that I can serve all my target customers just by presenting in one channel. And the opportunity to be able to, it's I suppose if you look back 5 years ago, people thought, let's get our online presence, our e-commerce store up and running and move from our bricks and mortar to an online presence. And they opened their own web store. Fabulous. But they realized very quickly that that's not going to be able to serve that customer wherever they are. So they start to open that Amazon store. And then they realize that's not the geographic touch that they need for their APAC customers. So they have to move into another space. And I think there is a real opportunity to be able to look at these as routes to market that should be scalable and are able to give you access to a customer base that you'd otherwise really struggle to touch. I'm sure you see it as well, James. I mean, the breadth of marketplaces are there. We do a lot of work with Miracle over in Europe. They're a foundation platform for 200 plus marketplaces. There's a huge surge in companies that recognize this department store setting almost that the marketplace can become is a place that has a uniqueness, has something different. And you as a brand want to make sure you're lining up with the right marketplaces that suit your brand equity, your brand image, or the customer that you're trying to serve.
Yeah, interesting. Very interesting. And I guess on that point, with all the marketplaces that are now, presenting themselves to sellers and all that, how do you see kind of customer management evolving on marketplaces? Because I know from our software, there's all the different KPIs of how you should deal with a customer for eBay, Amazon, or Walmart, whatever. But how do you, because you guys are the help desk experts, how do you see it evolving? Do you see it becoming more extreme or laxed, or how do you view this?
I think it's going to get tighter and tighter, James. I mean, the marketplaces ultimately with third-party sellers are looking to these sellers to deliver on their commitment to the customer. So you've got to make sure that your responsiveness with regard to the questions that are asked is certainly well within the bounds of the SLAs. It is, you're carrying the banner not just for your brand, but you're also representing in a way the Amazon or eBay or other marketplaces you're presenting through. And if you fall foul of those rules, because they're systems driven rather than people driven, because they're system driven, you're in a situation where if you fall foul once or twice, it can be very difficult for you to reclaim your position in the buy box. And so, we see it a lot with with eDesk and the kind of, and it's where AI, I think, helps a great deal. The AI SLA monitor, the ability to be able to track and clearly see we're going to fall foul of the marketplace SLAs. We've got to get a response out to this customer urgently, or we've got to resolve that customer query quickly so we can request great feedback. And I think that's something that we're not talking enough about, James, as sellers in the market. We're not talking about the value of the feedback that a customer leaves and the opportunity we have when somebody reaches out to give them a really cool experience, make sure that they're over delivered on. I spoke with a wonderful company yesterday who have a policy of just, if a customer has a customer service query, they actually go above and beyond to delight that customer. I mean, they will over deliver in that customer experience because they want to make sure that customer comes away with a feeling of advocacy. They want to talk about that company, recommend that site or that seller to buy their product from. So, you've got a chance to delight the customer in the transaction. If they reach out to you, grab them, love them up, and make sure that you're encouraging them to leave great feedback. And feedback's becoming probably one of the premier ways that the companies are getting scored for buy box placements. It's not about price as much. It's about how well you're delivering on the commitment that the marketplace wants to give.
Yeah, look, I think I definitely echo that. I think a lot of sales probably occur because of the credibility that you get from having positive feedback. And I think knowing that, customers and sellers know that the KPIs that marketplaces impose are pretty extreme. So if you can get positive feedback out of it, it means you're doing something right. But look, it brings me to my kind of last question, which is more broad, Richard. Where do you see marketplace selling in general evolving to in the next 12 months? I'm keen to hear what you think.
Yeah, I think if I look at the, we know over the last 12, 18 months, I think I was looking at a study from Miracle last month. They said that the marketplace sales grew twice as quickly as online sales in general over the period of the pandemic. So marketplace is surging, and the wonderful noise that's being created by the aggregators, the Thrasios, and the Perches, and the Heydays, and the Elevates is very interesting to watch. I mean, they're identifying marketplaces as the next Fifth Avenue of digital real estate. So they're looking to own those segments. What I think is going to happen is Fifth Avenue is a great metaphor for what Amazon or one or two of the big guys are, but there's going to be an increasing number of boutique marketplaces, places that are able to find their way to get a little bit more niche in the way they present their product and their range. So I think there's going to be an ongoing proliferation of the volume or the number of marketplaces. And then the sellers, we got to be quite clever about the way that we are finding marketplaces that serve the audience we want to talk to. We can't be everywhere. So we're going to have to start being a little bit more selective and have a tapestry of marketplaces that we want to connect with. So I think that's probably going to be one of the biggest shifts. There's a behemoth in the middle of the room with our Amazon ecosystem, but there is I think a very, very fast growing proliferation of these side streets, these pieces that fall off Fifth Avenue, but have very rich and very niche and specific target markets that they're addressing.
Yeah, interesting. It's a very, very optimistic outlook, Richard. I think one of the people I interviewed a couple of weeks back said they're expecting, a marketplace explosion more and more and more, and then a huge contraction. So, I'm glad for the sake of both of our businesses that you're quite optimistic about this. But look, I'll leave it there because I know you need to get on with actual business. So again, thank you so much for kind of sharing your insights and thoughts. And yeah, hopefully we'll have you on again.
Thank you very much, James. Lovely to chat to you.